This is a man's life. And this is what used to be our constitutional republic, both of which are being somewhat shredded by the Trump administration for something that even on their own terms has just been failure after failure after failure. They effectively lost on this again in court today, but in the process still managed to tear apart this man's life even more.
They said it was a mistake, an administrative error, they called it. Yet that so-called mistake was enough to change one man's life forever. Elmar Abrigo Garcia, a long-time Maryland resident, was ripped from his home, separated from his family, and deported not to the country of his birth, not to any place he had ties to, but to El Salvador. There, he was thrown into an offshore mega-minus prison notorious for its brutality. The United States Supreme Court intervened, ordering the Trump administration to facilitate his release. But the administration refused. They doubled down. They declared that Elmar Abrigo Garcia would never return. And yet, in a move both cynical and contradictory, they brought him back anyway, not to restore justice, but to prosecute him. That decision shocked even members of the Justice Department. A top federal prosecutor resigned, reportedly in protest, unwilling to be complicit in what he saw as a case pursued purely for political gain. The government's star witness, a 3-time felon, freed from federal prison by Donald Trump himself, in exchange for testimony against Garcia. A deal that looked less like law enforcement and more like political theater. But the case did not end there. On Friday, after months in detention, Garcia was finally released on bond. For one weekend, he was able to embrace his family again. For a brief moment, it looked as if the nightmare might ease. Then Monday came. He was summoned to an IC check-in under the guise of an interview. Instead, he was arrested again. This time, the government revealed an even more extraordinary planned deportation to Uganda, a country to which Garcia had no connection, no family, no history, no ties whatsoever. His lawyers called it random, punitive, and cruel. A federal judge agreed, slamming the brakes on yet another deportation attempt. In open court, the judge told administration lawyers, "Your clients are absolutely forbidden at this juncture to remove Mr. Abrigo Garcia from the continental United States." The judge even paused to ask if that order was understood. The government lawyers answered yes. Think about that. A federal court had to stop the administration from shipping a man across the globe to a country he had never known. And all of it, the judge noted, appeared to be retaliation for Garcia's refusal to plead guilty to charges he insists are unfounded. As recently as last week, Costa Rica had offered him refugee status, a perfectly reasonable option. But after exercising his right to post bond, suddenly the destination was no longer Costa Rica. It was Uganda. Punishment pure and simple. For Garcia's family, the ordeal has been a roller coaster of anguish. Nearly half a year without their husband, without their father, only to see him return briefly, then ripped away again on a Monday morning. His attorney describes it as devastating. The immigration system, by law, is meant to be civil. It is meant to be separate from the criminal justice system. Yet here, deportation was being wielded as a weapon, a bargaining chip in a prosecution that should never have gone forward. And so Elmar Abrigo Garcia has become a household name, not because he sought the spotlight, not because he was an activist, but because of the administration's relentless mistakes, contradictions, and abuses. His case is now emblematic of a deeper problem, a constitutional republic strained under the weight of executive overreach, where lives are treated as disposable in pursuit of political gain. Consider the facts. Garcia had won his immigration case back in 2019. He had lived and worked in the United States for over a decade. His work permit had been renewed not once, but twice under the Trump administration itself. He had no reason to believe his status was in jeopardy. One day, he was driving legally in Maryland. 3 days later, he was imprisoned in a Salvadoran mega-minus prison with no idea if anyone knew where he was. What followed was Kafkaesque. Lawyers, activists, ordinary citizens scrambled to find him, to advocate for him, to bring him home. Against impossible odds, They succeeded only to face this endless cycle of release, arrest, deportation attempts, and judicial interventions. Each time the government lost in court, they managed to devastate his life a little more. This is not just one man's story. It is a warning. It demonstrates what happens when the rule of law is treated as an obstacle rather than a principle. It shows how power can be abused when courts must remind government lawyers that deportation cannot be used as punishment. And it asks all of us to consider if this can happen to someone like Garcia, who had won his case, who had legal standing, who had a family and community behind him who is safe. For now, a federal judge has blocked his deportation. For now, he remains in the United States. But the battle is far from over. His family continues to live with uncertainty. His lawyers continue to fight against a government determined to bend the system for political ends. And Americans continue to watch, learning just how fragile justice can be when those in power choose to shred it. This is more than a legal dispute. It is a measure of who we are as a nation. It is about whether the United States remains a constitutional republic, where rights are respected and courts are obeyed, or whether lives can be appended at the whim of politics. Okay? Aylmer Abrigo Garcia's ordeal is a tragedy, but also a testament to the resilience of one man, one family, and a community unwilling to look away. His case forces us to ask the hardest question of all in America today. What is the value of a single human life when measured against the ambitions of power?